Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Ariel Bar Tzadok here from the KosherTorah School at www.koshertorah.com. We're here on Facebook Live, and soon to be put also on our YouTube channel, to talk on our regular weekly chat about all kinds of fun topics of spirituality and Torah and the universal expansion of consciousness and all the big fancy talk and words that we use to describe things. But pretty much bottom line, what I always like to share in our lot of classes here is something that I hope is very practical, realistic, down to earth, and meaningful. So the topic that I want to discuss in this little get together, I've entitled Psychic Warfare and Spiritual Defense. And that might sound like a big fancy thing, but you know, something what it really boils down to is everyday kind of stuff that we all have to be able to address in order to hopefully live happy and healthy lives. So let me explain where I'm coming from, what it is that I want to get at. Bottom line is this: we live in a world and an environment in which each and every one of us as individuals is always under attack from, in quote, other forces. Now, before you start going off into your fantastical, mythological minds and start thinking about demons or aliens or other kinds of weird external forces that are going to be out there coming to get you with their little pitchforks kind of thing, no. Let's put some things, correct here. Now, this is one of the major differences between our Torah tradition and many others. And I have to put a caveat there, parts of our Torah tradition, because there are elements within our Torah tradition which I must say are as equally superstitious as many non-Jewish paths. Now, are there other entities out there in our greater expanded universe? Yes, there are. Okay. We are very well aware of other entities who we call the Shadim, who in the Islamic tradition are called the jinn. And like in the Islamic tradition, Torah teaches not all of the shadim are bad and evil kind of thing. This is very different from how it is taught in Christianity. Christianity, all right, like much of mystical Judaism, is built upon a fundamental, I don't want to call it a mistake, so I don't want to sound offensive or insulting in any which way, but we have in Torah that which we call midrash. Midrash are stories that are told, never ever meant to be taken literally, but were embellished tales, symbolic tales that, shall we say, tell a good story with the intent, the purpose of course, inspiring people to live better or more righteous, more holy lives. So a midrash is a story. It's an embellishment of a different type of a story, a biblical story, a rabbinic story, but it was never ever meant to be taken literally as history. Christianity was built out of Judaism on Jewish midrash. And that becomes very clear and evident. For example, if you look at the actual teachings of Yeshu as the historical individual that he was, even in his own day, they say, how come he's speaking in parables and symbolisms and the like? But that's a very common Jewish way to teach. It is what we call midrashim. All right? Very common. Yeshu taught in midrash form all the time. And to their credit, a lot of Christian scholars, when they read Yeshu's words, know very well, he's talking about all these different symbolic stories, that they're literally symbolic. But there are other elements which people misunderstood. And in all due respect, we're not a Christian bash or anything of the kind. We don't do that, all right? Nor should you, all right? We respect and honor everyone. But nevertheless, there were stories and elements which were never meant to be taken literally. Major issue that distinguishes between Judaism and Christianity is the whole concept of the devil and hell. We don't have a concept of a devil in Torah. And you say, what about Samael? Let me tell you about Samael. And no, I'm not afraid to say his real name, right? He's not some big, bad, evil guy like you think. It is very clear in our midrashim that speak about these things that Samael is actually God's right-hand angel. He serves God. He does what God tells him to do. His job is to be the tester, the accuser. He is the opposition that you push against, that pushes you forward, right? That's his job. That's what he does, and he does it faithfully. And indeed, in the Kabbalah, in the Kitvei Ari, it is taught very clearly that Samael, in the time to come, is going to again be restored to the highest levels of Kedusha, because he's no longer going to be in that position of opposition. So, in the Christian tradition, as everyone knows, there's this concept of salvation. You have to be saved from something or else. Well, that whole concept, as it is presented for a Torah point of view, doesn't make sense. There's nothing to be saved from. There is no original sin, if you will call it such, was a lowering of a level of consciousness. It was never a disconnection from God. So therefore, the whole concept of there being this duality in the world, this fighting between good and evil, the angels versus the demons are out to get you, it doesn't exist by us. All right? These concepts, again, were symbolic stories, which were, again, told to us with the specific intent to, oh my goodness, to try to get you to be a little fearful, a little awe of God, be more righteous, more holy, and the like. But ultimately, as we know, foundations of our Torah tradition, all is unity. All is one. All comes from God. Evil comes from God. Darkness comes from God. So therefore, when we talk about the existence of Shedim, they are not the fallen minions, in spite of what it might say in the book of Revelations or in other interpretations of things. No, it's very, very different. Okay? Very, very different. So when we're going to talk about, again, psychic warfare and the like, we've got to realize who the real enemy is. Because ultimately, if you want to be successful in combat, well, you better know who it is you're fighting and what actual abilities they do and do not have. For those of you who know anything about actual warfare, combat, one of the greatest tools that every military force endeavors to use is that which we call psychological warfare. They're trying to psych the other part out. Right? This is well known in all areas and aspects of war. You could read about it in the ancient writings of Swansea up until modern time. When D-Day was planned for World War II, there was an entire fake army being built in England with a specific intent that the Germans pay attention to it. Well, psychological warfare. This is always done over and over again. What groups today, terrorist groups do, in order to intimidate, indeed the entire understanding of terrorism. It's psychological warfare. They're trying to manipulate and control your minds, your fears. Step one is to recognize this, and obviously then step two is to overcome. So before, again, we go and try to create all kinds of mystical or fantastical ideas and beliefs about what's out there and who's out to get us and the like, let's get real. Let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Are there other entities in this world around us that seek our harm? Yes. Yes, there are. Are they malevolent? Yes, they are. Okay. Well, what do we do about them? We got to kill them all. Well, no, you're not. That's not the way these things work. Remember, we live in an energetic universe. Everything's energy. And energy, pretty much like polarity, positive and negative, like electricity, right? Everything has a charge to it. And the rules of energy apply. Real psychic self-defense, real psychic warfare is built upon what is inside of you. Bottom line is a very, very general rule. You're going to attract to yourselves that which you're open to. And you are going to repel those things which you're not open to. Those things which you attract unconsciously from deep within, your desires, your lusts, your cravings, right? They will come. Oh, indeed they will. And they can cling to you for your betterment or your harm. Remember, even though we talk about shedim as not necessarily being bad and evil, many in that species existing in a parallel universe around us see human beings as energetic entities. Most shedim don't care. Most shedim do what they do. But some human beings in our world today, by no small number, open themselves up magnetically, and they, in essence, make their energetic fields appear in the eyes of these other entities, almost like the way we would look today as cattle. You know what we do with cattle, don't you? We round them up, we slaughter them, chop them up, and eat them at the barbecue. Well, not me, I'm a vegetarian, but many others do. Well, these other entities look towards human energetic souls, literally as a source of food, and they will siphon off energy. You will see this in numerous different manifestations. People who today suffer from all kinds of depression, depletions of energy, always feeling constantly ill and sick with nothing that can ever be diagnosed. People who find themselves more and more in isolation and find themselves more and more incapable of having relationships, intimate relationships with other people, especially with a spouse and the like. Very common. All of this is clear signs of this type of influence, this negative influence. Okay, symbolically speaking, throughout the ages, it will be referred to sometimes as an incubi, an incubus, succubus kind of thing, like a demon lover kind of thing. You see it referenced in many of the literatures around the world. Is this literal? Probably not. Can it be literal? Possibly so. But we're not going to go there because we can't address those things that we can't help. But let's focus on those things that we can help. Now, I wrote a book long time ago called Protection from Evil. Unfortunately, I'm kind of out of copies right now. So until I republish it, it's not going to be available in hard copy, pretty much only going to be available in the ebook format. And I know Amazon's all backed up on it, and sorry, but nothing I can do about that. But anyway, what I tried to help people understand there is that psychic self-defense is not a religious issue. It's a psychological one. And today, we are under attack. Now, not from little evil demons who are out there to siphon off your soul and to siphon off your energy like I just described. There are other things that are causing us harm. And we know them all too well. Look at the problems we all suffer with today. How about one of the big things? This is one of my pet peeves here, and that's obesity. You know what obesity is? I'm not talking about being 5 or 10 pounds overweight, having a little bit of a, rump around the belly there kind of stuff. No. Look at the way people eat today. We worship food. It's like an idolatry of today. Now, there was a time in my life when I got very heavy. Oh, yes, I did. And I remember I was teaching a class of martial arts to a private student, and I noticed that student was moving faster than I. And I said, oh, nay, that cannot happen. And I took off the pounds. And I was very strict and disciplined. That's called teshuvah. And ever since then, many years ago, never put that weight back on. Now, the reason why I'm sharing with you this story is because you know how important exercise is to me personally and to our Torah tradition. I cannot emphasize to you enough. If your greatest psychic enemy is eating food, then you are committing a modern form of idolatry, whether you like it, believe it, or not. You want to lose weight? You want to get in shape? 2 things. Stop overeating and start exercising. These are things very clearly written in our Torah tradition. And in the Orthodox Jewish world today, not many pay attention. Obesity is a terrible problem. The type of food and diet they eat, terrible, terrible problem. And this is clearly part and parcel of their problem, where in which you see the entire nature of their society has become so imbalanced, so corrupted. They're so disconnected from anything natural, anything spiritual, that pretty much all of their Torah has become an empty, hollow shell. And we see that in all the things happening in those communities. So yeah, you are what you eat. You've heard that said. Very, very important. All right? It's important that we safeguard our physical health so as to cultivate appropriate spiritual health. Now, myself now as a divorced man, a single man, I go out there and I look in the dating market today, and my goodness, people have no self-respect for their own physical appearance and health. I wouldn't date someone like that in a million years. And it's not because of vanity pounds. It's because of you have no self-respect for your own discipline and strength and health. And sorry, I can't value you as a personal individual without you valuing yourself as such. Do you not realize how important this is? And this is only one issue that we're talking about, just one. Let's move down the line to others. All the different types of abuse that people put themselves through. Emotional abuse, sexual abuse, the types of abuse with all the different types of things that we ingest on a daily basis. Tobacco, alcohol. I can say, and I'm proud. I'm an old guy already, and I've never ever been drunk ever in my life. I don't like the taste of alcohol. I don't drink. Now, for those of you who know our KosherTorah school in my classes, yeah, back in Tennessee, we always had moonshine. Absolutely. And God bless, we'll still always have a bottle for people who want to come by. How much moonshine I ever drank? Not even a shot. Itsy. Just, I don't like the taste of it. Years ago, I used to smoke. I confess it. But I gave it up. These are all vices. These are all tools of psychic attack. To which you might say, well, this is all physical stuff I'm talking about. Yeah. Do you think the physical and the spiritual are separated from one another? Didn't I just say to you earlier, we don't have that duality in our Torah tradition? The physical and the spiritual and the physical are two sides of the same coin. They are both part and parcel. This is what the Torah calls heaven and earth, the physical and the spiritual. They're all one and the same. So if you want to defend yourself against psychic attack, step one is strengthen your body against physical attack. No, not physical attack from some external source that's going to come against you with fists, knives, or guns, or martial arts for that. But how about the other enemies that we so much open ourselves to? Yes, this is the enemy that is the most devious and devastating. And if you want true spiritual self-defense, it starts with you right here and right now. So, physical health. You want rules or guidance? Stop. I'm trying to get the words out here. Our live classes here. I don't have these things written usually. I have no notes here in front of me. But what I'm trying to say is, people aren't going to think for you. People are not going to act for you. Stop looking for others to tell you what to do and that you're going to follow rules and regulations. Rather, you got to figure this out for yourself. How do you, as the individual, give up those things which you need to give up to maintain your physical and emotional and mental and spiritual health? I don't know you individually. I can't give you individual guidance on this or that. I know people are like scrolling down here in the text here and telling me things. I can't read that as I'm sharing with you right now. because I got to get this message across. Okay? So for all of those of you who you want your spiritual self-defense, and you think, I'm going to read Psalms, and I'm going to put up, Shavitis. That's like what I have over my shoulder over that side. Always get the cameras reversed here. That over there, that's a Shviti over there, in case you can't see it. Yeah, we always have that. You think that's magic? You think if you put a mezuzah on your door, it's going to keep evil spirits out? You think if you wear a small talit under your garment, it's going to keep you protected? Lovely ideas, lovely thoughts, none of which have validity. Why? Because these are external symbols. And if they do not reflect the internal reality, then the symbol becomes a hollow shell. Of course, no, I didn't make that up. That's actually from the Torah, the Baal Shem Tov, Sefer Baal Shem Tov, Parshat Shemot, Ot Aleph. For those of you who want me to play rabbi and give you all these quotes and fancy sources and stuff, but understand the reality of these things. All of the Torah, all of the mitzvot, all of the commandments are a means to an end to try to wean us off of idolatry. That's what Rambam writes in the Moreh Nebuchim. I agree wholeheartedly. So what is this idolatry? Not bowing down before this or that idol. Idols today, they are what you make them to be or are not. Okay? The little statues and icons that people believe in, people know those aren't really gods. They know that they're symbolic representations, archetypes of other things, which kind of, takes the wind out of the sails, and no, it doesn't make them idols. Not at all. Just makes them what they are, archetypal symbols. The real enemies, the real idolatries of today are those things that we elevate to a level of importance, even to divinity, that they do not deserve. Some people will do that with regards to politics. They elevate their politicians, their concepts of government, their concepts of social justice. They do all of these types of things. And they can turn even God, they can even turn Torah into an idolatrous way. Those aren't my own words. These are the words of Erich Fromm, a very famous psychoanalyst. Read his book on psychology and religion. You Shall Be as Gods. Two great books on the concepts of Torah and religion in general. Highly recommend them. But understand now, you want real spiritual self-defense. It starts from the outside in and the inside out. Well, it's contradictory, isn't it? No. Did I just say physical and spiritual? Spiritual, physical, the same one? It's one of the same, right? So understand this. You want to bring yourself to the place where energetically you naturally repel that which can harm you. That means you have to cultivate an energy within yourself, a change of your psychology, a change of your orientation. Let me tell you this. When I was losing my weight, I love chocolate. I think everybody, well, most people do. So you know what I used to do? To reward myself at the end of a day, I would have a piece of chocolate. How much? One little Hershey's Kiss. Just a little bit of sugar, a little bit of sweetness. It was just enough, as they say, to take off the edge. I do not believe in extremisms of any kind. I think all extremisms can be dangerous. Rambam shares these same sentiments. So therefore, if weight is your issue, all right, give yourself a little something every now and then. It's okay. All right? You don't be extreme in any which way. And what are your other abusive issues? Smoking, drinking, all big things that people like. Drugs, oh my goodness, terrible. I hear about the usage of how many people are using drugs today. They're poisoning their minds. They're destroying their energy fields, and they have no idea. I cannot tell you how absolutely harmful pot smoking is. Thank God I never did it in my life, and I cannot encourage you. If you do this, get it out of your system. Please, for your own sake. There is no room for it whatsoever. If you want to be psychically healthy, then you have to have a receptacle, your body, your vessel, which can be the conduit for the proper flow of energy. That's very, very important. So you see how I'm fluctuating back and forth here? Physical, internal, because there's no difference between the two. This is what I'm trying to get you to understand. Yeah, there are real enemies out there. Don't worry about the shadim. Don't worry about the evil spirits coming through your walls. The aliens aren't coming to abduct you or anything of the kind. Oh, I see it in my dreams, my visions. Well, I don't know what you're seeing, what you're not seeing. But I am going to tell you how to defend against them. I remember years ago, all right, let's date ourselves. The first work that I wrote about like extraterrestrials and stuff like that was back in 1993. You go count the years, right? I did that in my own Panu Derech journal. For those of you who've been with me so long, you'll remember before I published my books, before we had our KosherTorah.com website, I used to, write a journal. And in the research of that material, way back when, over 25 years ago, I read an article in one of the UFO magazines entitled "How to Stop an Alien Abduction." And I was very surprised to find that one of the greatest weapons against alien abduction was the recitation of Psalms. I said, oh, really? Well, that's interesting. Wow, and how do Psalms protect you from an alien coming to get you? Remember, aliens, aren't they like, like the Klingons from Star Trek or the stormtroopers in Star Wars? If someone comes, barging my door down with their ray guns and the like that, and I start saying, stop in the name of Psalms, and it works? Really? Okay, that's telling me something. And what it's telling me is the energetic nature of what a psalm is, the energetic nature of the, in quote, entities that we're up against. Most of these entities are our own psychological creations. I'm doing a series right now on the Sulam Aliyah School of Kabbalah. I've taught already classes on the Maaseh Merkabah, on prophecy, cultivating psychic spiritual defense, the real meanings of Kabbalah, Kabbalistic magic, Kabbalah Maaseh, as we call it, and what it is and what it isn't. And we're continuing in this series and teaching elements of what we call how real consciousness expands and the like. Now, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because of its connection to what we're discussing here. You see, if you want to be, if you will, energetically balanced, you got to remember that when you're opening yourselves up to dreams and visions and the like, which many people have and many people experience, you must remember how the mind works. These things are symbolic language. And if you interpret these symbolisms as literal, you will forever be subject to superstition and fantasy, and therefore be misguided. You must be able to transcend and understand. That is why we always talk about Torah learning, Talmud Torah Keneged Kulam, learning Torah. When it comes to prophecy, we say that Moses had the clearest level of prophecy more than anyone else. Okay, well, what and how and why? Well, where did that all come about? What does it actually mean? And I discussed this in the classes on the prophecy in this series. The series is not yet available to the public, probably won't be for a few months yet. You got to be a registered student in our school to get in on this. So if you're interested in becoming a registered student of our school, I'll give you the series, kind of thing. But getting back to the issue here, when it comes to understanding how this works up here in your mind, in your head, you got to be able to transcend the difference between the literal and the physical, recognize the difference between, if you will, poetry and prose, start to understand your own self. Start to understand your own inner dynamics and why and how you feel the way that you feel. And when you can do this, you start to understand things about yourself. And then you start to cultivate and gain control. And that's what it's all about. So yeah, many a time people will have dreams or visions about evil demons and monsters and this and that coming after themselves. Well, in dreams, I remember years ago when I was at the Jungian school learning, psychoanalysis and the like, I remember our teacher told us there, if you ever have a dream like that, don't try to defeat the evil monster. Turn it around. Talk to it. And the concept we call active imagination in psychology, same technique that Abu Lafayette taught, centuries ago. You know, say, who are you? What are you? What are you here for? And you embrace it. And if you're embracing it with the proper energy, remember repulsion energy? it's going to flee from you. And you will be able to transform it from something evil into something good. And this is exactly what we call tikkun, rectification. So this is the great secret of how we rectify things. We seek to take things and turn them around. We don't seek to kill and destroy. We seek to turn them around. This is tikkun, and this is successful. So therefore, many people, again, they come to me all the time and say, Rabbi, give me a prayer or a ritual to help me defend against this evil force. Well, again, the prayer and the ritual, again, is only a means to an end. It's a tool. Now, one of the greatest enemies any one of us will ever face isn't some fallen angel, isn't some demon, but rather other human beings. Remember, we're energetic individuals. And being that we're energetic, we often will project positive or negative energy onto others. Negative energy, we're all familiar with it. You can call it ayin hara, the evil eye. Some will call it the power of the curse. Those of you who are familiar with the biblical story of Bilam, that's exactly what he did to Israel. He endeavored to trip them up psychologically, by imposing negative thoughts upon them. This is very real. We will often succumb, unconsciously so, to the negative manipulations of others. Listen to the way people abuse one another today. They put all kinds of negative thoughts into their own minds and into the minds of others. Think about it. You go and say something, you can't do that. Nah, you stink at this, or whatever other forms of negativity that we express words. Don't do that. Especially, don't believe it. When there's a will, there's a way. For those of you who have any kind of martial arts training, or any kind of training in any real spiritual discipline, you know that the greatest and higher power of them all, in the Kabbalah and the Sefirot, we call it the will, or Keter. In the Eastern traditions, it's the highest of the chakras, willpower. It transcends everything. And when you have a will, you can transform anything and everything around you. Be careful that you don't impose your will on another. That is what we call evil. And we don't do that. You've got to be very careful to give everybody their space. Who listens to this today? Almost nobody. And that's a big danger. So this is the enemy that we have to defend ourselves against. And that starts by a simple psychological tool inside yourself. Know yourself. Create your boundaries. Create your parameters. If you want visualization techniques of creating a shell of light around yourself and visualizing that shell of light to be like a ball of fire, that any negative thought that tries to come through is burned away, any and all visualization techniques of this kind are very helpful and good. I encourage you to find whichever tool works for you and use it. Okay? You don't need special Kabbalistic rituals or holy names. Do they work? They work if you believe they work, and they won't work if you don't believe they work. Emunah, it's the power of faith. Faith starts with willpower. Okay? When I go to the gym and I work out, and I'm lifting very heavy weights, I'm not out there, like all the young guys. I'm an old guy already, like I said. For me, this is an exercise of will. When I go and I want to do, bicep curls, 170 pounds, 200 pounds, it's really hard to get up. I close my eyes. I focus my will. And I say, I will do this. Why? Because I've committed to do it. And it takes time, it takes power, but you get it up and you do it. Why am I giving you the example of the physical? Because the physical, remember I said physical, spiritual, physical? It's easy when you do it physically. Because when you do it physically, you convince yourself through experience, you can do it. You got to lose weight? You can do it. You got to give up smoking, drugs, alcohol, sexual promiscuity, you can do it. How? Little steps, one at a time. But do it. Master Yoda here, but it's true. And go and follow that. Live by it. When you have something in your hand, do it with power, with strength. Never underestimate your own ability as a divine human soul given to you by God. You can do whatever needs to be done. You don't have to worry about all those little demons coming after you, because they're not. Worry about the negativity of other human beings and make yourselves impregnable. Make yourselves invincible. Be who you are and recognize that there are times of compromise and bending, right? One of my favorite lines, you have to bend like a reed in the wind. You have to be like a chameleon sometimes on the outside, whereas the inside, you're true to self. A lot of people don't like that advice. They say, no, you got to be rigid and strong. Rigid and strong break. Fluid, go with the flow, right? The martial arts, this is what I so much loved about the Chinese martial arts I've done all my life. It's not straightforward. It's not boom, like this, right? It's coming around like that. It's learning the flow of energy. And you feel it within your body, you understand it within your mind, and then you practice it in your lives. And this, you have the right, you have the left, and the point is to bring everything into balance in the center. Nothing ever stops moving. Everything is always moving. But you have a center of balance. So that when the outside influence tries to come in, it goes right back out. And that's just the way you create true psychic self-defense. It all begins up here. For those of you who are familiar with the martial arts, who talk about the life force energy of the body, we call it chi. Don't think that's a foreign concept to our Torah. Ramban Nachmani, in his commentary to the Torah, speaks about chi right in the book of Genesis, right at the beginning. Only he doesn't call it by its Chinese name. He refers to it by its actual Greek name, the same name that Rabbi Chaim Vital refers to it in his Etz Chaim, the old concept of the prima mater, the fifth element. Ramban Nachmani referred to it as the Chiyuli. All right? This is the ultimate source of life force energy. It embodies everything. We are this energy. And chi flow, chiyuli flow, we call it also in the Torah language, nefesh, life force energy. When your nefesh is strong, you will naturally repel anything negative. Now, here's the big secret. How do you get this nefesh energy? Psalm 19 said it best. Torat Hashem timima, mashivat nefesh. The Torah of Hashem is timima. Doesn't mean perfect. Doesn't mean pure. It means simple. And it restores your nefesh energy. You restore simplicity into your lives. And this restores psychic energy. It's that simple. Make your diet more natural. Make your lifestyle more natural. Yes, you're living in the middle of the big urban environment. You got all these things going on and all these negative influences. Shh. I can't make those things go away any more than you can. But I can teach you, like in martial arts, how to repel, how to let the dance of movement flow so that this energy doesn't hit you to harm you. It's always going to be there, but you learn to dance. You learn to repel. You learn to flow. And it becomes a natural part of your lifestyle. And therefore, you become naturally immune. That is psychic self-defense. It is all in the power of your mind to overcome the negative influences of others. There are many, many techniques of how to do this. You can learn them from psychology books. You can learn them from mystical sources. But remember, stop thinking superstitiously. Stop taking midrash and trying to understand it as prose, as literal. Recognize and understand that all the powers that are against you are inside you. And all the powers that are going to help you overcome are inside you. And the battle is inside you, in your mind, in your heart. You have what it takes to overcome. But you will never, ever overcome by just making a statement of acknowledgement. No, you got to do it. You got to live it. And that is why the physical and the spiritual, equally important. You balance this out, and you will indeed acquire accomplishment. That's the secret that psychic self-defense is based on. I hope and I pray that you'll embrace this lesson and live it, because that is what our KosherTorah school is here to teach. In this respect, there's no difference between anybody. There's no difference between Jewish, non-Jewish, men, women. We're all alike. We're all into this together. We're all energetic beings. Let's calibrate the energy. Let's balance the energy, whatever form, whatever way, to make ourselves simple. That's the definition of pure. Pure, simple, same thing in our Torah language. And in doing so, make yourselves healthy. Make yourselves strong. Make yourselves powerful. And like the Pasuk says, Hashem lo yimena tov leholchim be tamim. God will not hold back any good from you when you walk in the way of tamim, simplicity. This is how you build chi, nefesh. Call it prana, call it whatever. This is the great secret. I hope and I pray that you will embrace this, practice it, and you'll see for yourselves. We have a whole bunch of courses on our website. My book, Protection from Evil, it's not available anymore in a hardback, but the ebook is available. For those of you interested, you email me, arieltzadok@gmail.com. Check out our website, KosherTorah.com. And the grace of heaven, I'm always here to help as your brother, to help you, whoever you are. Let's work together to get this done, because we're all into this together. God be willing, we'll get through this together, and we're going to make the light of God to shine. Bezat Hashem. Alrighty, enough for tonight. Thanks all for listening. Again, Ariel Tzadok here from the KosherTorah School, KosherTorah.com. See you all next time. God bless. Good night. Shalom.